Hello and welcome to Odds Premier League Match Day 34, and we have Tom Rennie here, who said so many weeks ago that Man City was going to win this Premier League, and after what we've seen on Wednesday, Tom, you are right.
I know. Look, no prizes for backing the Sovereign Wealth Fund that have won the league 4 of the last 5, but if there are prizes, I'll take them.
Mike, but let's do the video. I'm gonna fix this very soon, guys. Remember to comment the video with us, and of course, don't forget, press the like, subscribe, back Man City. Man City is always a safe bet. You will see later in the video, perhaps. And now let's go on with the show. And let's start with your West Ham, Tom. Crystal Palace, West Ham. I think if we've seen this game a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, that there would be a lot of tension here, but now both teams in London are quite safe. We have to say Crystal Palace with 37, West Ham with 34. They still need to win this one. I think after the defeat against Liverpool and with the calendar, they have United next. They have to get the 3 points here. And I remember you saying that be careful with Crystal Palace when they play in East London, but West Ham, they have a good record actually in Selhurst.
Yes, that's very true. It's become a bit strange between these two. A lot of the times it ends up a draw. A 1-1 draw is a common scoreline between them. But if Crystal Palace win the game, it's normally at West Ham. And if West Ham win the game, it's usually at Selhurst Park. And I think West Ham fans will be hoping that's the case this weekend because, to your point, 34 currently is not enough. Somebody will go down on 34 points. 37 very unlikely statistically, and in terms of probability, you're going to be relegated. West Ham still have winnable games to come up with Leicester and Leeds and Brentford, as well as both Manchester clubs, as you allude to. So I'd still pick West Ham to stay up, but they'll be hoping to get it done this weekend, as opposed to sandwiched around those Conference League semi-finals, which the club are desperate to win. In terms of Crystal Palace, some really lovely fixtures when Roy Hodgson came in against relegation rivals. They squeaked past Leicester with that late goal, beat Leeds to within an inch of their life, 5-1 at Ellen Road. And of course, taking on bottom of the table Southampton is a really good team to play for anybody right now, as we'll talk about later in the programme. And not great at home against Everton in that 1-1 draw, and last week against Wolves. They look like a team that had got the job done. So they're going to be interesting this week, Crystal Palace. Is that burst of form over? And what is there left to achieve under Roy Hodgson in the final 5 games? If you look at that form, essentially that 4-burst game is all they've done this year. At home, it's 1 win in their last 5. So I don't find a great deal to be positive about when it comes to Crystal Palace in this game. For West Ham, look, West Ham need this win. Everyone at the club knows they need this win. And for all the faults that David Moyes has as a manager, this season, the must-win games, they have won them. Bournemouth away was one of them. Everton at home was one of them. Southampton at home was one of them. Every time this season they've had a game they must win, they have won. And I think everyone will know that one more win's going to get them over the line. They were unlucky against Liverpool in midweek, where they played quite well, actually, took the lead, and a couple of moments of shoddy defending, some bad luck on decisions, definite penalty. I mean, what? Not going their way. Those are your issues there at West Ham. How's this game going to go? Well, I certainly think that West Ham at near 3-1 is quite nice in terms of an away team winning a game. The draw is what screams out to me, because I think you've got 2 teams here that probably would be happy with the draw. So I don't see a great deal of attacking endeavour in this game. I'd certainly look at the under 2.5 market. That's 1-0 either way. That's a 1-1 draw. Potentially 2-0 to one of these 2 teams, which I'd favour West Ham just about. In individual goal scorers, Mikel Antonio's hit form again. Him to score is around 8-1. Him to score a header is around 15-1, which he's done in 2 of the last 3 games. So certainly look at the Mikel Antonio market. In terms of Crystal Palace, the star player is Iberi Eze. 2 shots on target is 5-1. 9 shots on target in his last 5 games, a few goals, smattering in there as well. That's a market worth looking at. West Ham to have 6 corners, West Ham to score from a corner. They've started doing that again, something that previous to this season they've been incredible at, but have failed at a lot this season. But double chance this, West Ham and the draw. Look at the draw and both teams score. I would avoid Crystal Palace only because I think West Ham need it more. And the track record tells me they'll get it.
I like the draw, actually, 3.3 for this game. The bookies also expect not many goals. Logically, 1.67 for under 2.5 goals, 2.4 if you go for an over. We had a comment last week. Why don't we write here Tom's tips? Because he makes so many tips. He gives you so many tips, so many insights, so you can pick the preferred one. And he just gave you so many options to bet on. And Hassan is reminding us that Yoraka landed last weekend. Well, in the middle of the week, actually.
Yeah, my midweek did all right, which I was pleased about. And more to come, guys. Stay with us.
Good job. Yeah. Well, next game, Tom, is Brentford Forest. Here, Brentford really favorite, but Forest, they really need more the points. They got a great victory coming back against Brighton. That's why they are out of the relegation spots. And Brentford, they beat Chelsea. Is that news? That's the normal thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Chelsea getting any more points this season, but we'll talk about them a little bit later. A tragically bizarre season for Chelsea. In terms of Brentford, look, I think it was an impressive performance. I won't take that away from them, but it was a performance against a really pliant opponent at a time that Brentford really needed that opponent, because it was 1 point in 4 games before that moment. At this moment, I think Brentford have well run their race this season. If you are going to back Brentford, which I would do in this game, look at Ivan Toney to be a goal scorer and have 2 shots on target, 5 shots on target in his last 2 home games, the 3rd top scorer in the Premier League this season with 19 goals. So Ivan Toney is your man if you are looking for a bet on Brentford in this game. For Nottingham Forest, impressive against Brighton. You've got to say that. Really, really impressive. It's not a result I saw coming, not a result many of us saw coming. I could have seen a draw. To beat Brighton is a real achievement. But look, you've got to look at the form guide here. I know that the end of the season, the relegation battle, surprise results do occur, but all season long, away from home, Nottingham Forest, 6 points. 1 victory. That was at Southampton, who are bottom of the table. Just 3 draws and 1 win. 6 points. It's pitiful. They are not a particularly good team, even though they have started to score goals. I cannot see them going to Brentford and score, let alone win. So Brentford, when they win, they usually score the first goal and don't concede from that point. I'm not sure if the stat is still true. I've not got it in front of me. But a few weeks ago, every time Brentford had scored the first goal in a Premier League game, they had not lost that match. Always won or drew. So if you go Brentford to score the first goal, you go Brentford to get points. And that's exactly what I'd recommend here. Brentford score first. Brentford will win. I would look at them to be winning with at least 2 goals. Ivan Toney getting one of them. And I wouldn't back Forest to score, despite the need that they have. You've got to look at the form. You go for Brentford.
Well, not great odds for Brentford to win, 1.7, but we have lower odds for Brighton to win in the last game we have on Saturday. Brighton Wolves, massive victory for Wolves at home. They are getting the results. You mentioned before in some other shows that the home form is going to make you stay in the category, and Wolverhampton, they are doing it. They are winning at home. Away, they are not getting the results. For instance, they lost to Leicester. They drew against Nottingham Forest. Probably that's why Brighton, they are still so favorites for this game. But also, I guess, Tom, we have to know how they are going to react after the knockout in the Cup semi-finals and after the defeat we saw the other day.
Yeah, I think you saw the reaction against Nottingham Forest. There is a bit of an after the Lord Mayor's show vibe about Brighton right now. Terrific season at points, but they are tapering off. Liverpool are on the charge. Aston Villa have usurped them as the outsiders in the top 6, top 7, and they find themselves 4 points behind Liverpool. Games in hand, but it kind of feels like we'll see what happens this weekend. But the Nottingham Forest game had a feel of the season is over and we've got to refocus to try and achieve minimal goals. To not have European football next season following the campaign that they've had, I think would really dampen spirits at Brighton because they've earned it. And at this point, they're falling away. I think that losing Evan Ferguson was a massive blow. Buonanotte, I'd never heard of him really until the game against Forest the weekend. Scored, or in midweek scored, but he is a drop down from Evan Ferguson, who has been terrific since coming in, the striker who scored. So that's still an issue, I think, for Brighton, that some of these players, they come in, they've had a real burst of energy and all that sort of stuff, but then it comes to consistency and quality, and young players don't tend to do it consistently over a period of time. So him being out is a big blow for Brighton. Mitoma and Solly March just seem to have gone off the boil as well the last 2 or 3 weeks. Didn't do it in the cup final, didn't do it against Nottingham Forest. So I'd have my concerns about Brighton, even though they've been one of the best teams in the league this season. The good news for them is that Wolves are not great away from home. Just 2 wins in their 10 have come on the road. And they did that thing that a lot of managers do, a lot of teams do. I think Lopetegui has come in and gone, forget the away games. If we can get a draw and we go ultra defensive, terrific. What we'll do is win games at Molineux, one of the toughest places to go in the country, traditional football ground with a vociferous crowd. And that's what they've done. So I wouldn't touch Wolves, even at 7-1. Brighton to win at 1.55 is not particularly enticing. I would probably double it up with, maybe a low scorer here. I can see Brighton winning it, scoring 1, maybe 2, no more than that, but avoid Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Both teams to score, one Chuk is suggesting. What do you think, Tom?
No, I just don't see Wolves scoring. I think one of the biggest issues for them this season has been goal scoring, right? 29 goals scored is an incredibly low total. You look at recent away games, it's a 1 goal in the game against Leicester, 1 goal in the game against Nottingham Forest. But where is the goal scorer? Where are the goals going to come from? At home, they're very offensive. Away from home, they're very defensive. They'll let Brighton have 70% of the ball here. And if Wolves are to score, it'll be on the break. They're not the greatest team on the break. I just don't see it. I'd go Brighton to win without conceding.
Well, it doesn't pay that well, actually. Both teams to score is 1.99. Both teams to score no is 1.9. So it's basically the same if you want to go for the no. On Sunday, relegation 6-pointer, Bournemouth, Leeds. Right now we have Leeds 1 point away from Leicester. Bournemouth 7. They are going to stay in the Premier League, and this is a great achievement. Tom Rennie is always telling us that they have the worst squad in the Premier League, but he was also telling us that they wanted to stay in the category. They beat Southampton away. They are getting the points away. In this case, Bournemouth. For Leeds, they still need to fight a lot. Only 1 point in the last 4 games.
Nightmare game, this one to predict, I got to say. Bournemouth, incredible credit, as I say every week, which you allude to have stayed in the Premier League, which I think they have now on 36 points. Incredible achievement. This squad is nowhere near the caliber required to stay in the Premier League. It's good coaching and determination that's got them there, plus a couple of players having some bursts of form. I'd be stunned if they weren't bottom of the league next season. But it's all been away from home, as you say. It's nicking points, it's usurping the odds, it's been taking on teams that have pushed up the field. And at home, I mean, you saw them against West Ham last week. They were obliterated by West Ham in that game. And they lost their previous home game against Brighton as well. So there are issues when Bournemouth try and dominate the ball. There are chances for them when the other team tries to attack. Leeds, I think, have fallen massively off a cliff. The performances have been really, really poor. The Crystal Palace game, the Liverpool game, Fulham was probably the worst of the lot, considering it was much more on the line. And last week against Leicester, to be 1-0 up with minutes to go and not win the game, massive concerns for Leeds United. I think that they are more likely than those below them to go down because of the lack of quality they have in the squad, both front and back, the injury issues that they have. But a win in this game changes everything, right? I think Bournemouth, where is the determination? Do they think they are up? They haven't shown any sign of that all season, but at 36, they think it's there. The way these games have been recently, the way Bournemouth games have been recently, I see goals here. I think there's going to be goals. I think Leeds can only play one way, and I don't think Bournemouth, if they go down, settle for, oh, well, that's it, we've lost it. Plus, Leeds do not have a particularly good defence. Bournemouth have conceded 63 goals this season. Leeds United have conceded 63 goals this season. So I don't praise the offence. I criticise the defence when I say goals, goals, goals. Over 2.5. I wouldn't discount over 2.5 and go for the draw at 3.5 to 4-1. That'll bring you in at a really, really nice, probably 8, maybe 9-1. And at that point, you haven't got to pick a winner. So I'd be looking goals at both ends. Draw, that's 1-1, that's 2-2, that's 3-3. If you want to pick a winner, feel free to do so. Match it with the over, you'll make some money.
Well, the over 2.5 goals pays 1.9, both teams to score only 1.7. The bookies also think we will see goals. Emmanuel is telling us also both teams to score for this game. Viper, over 2.5 goals. Hello, everyone from Nigeria, from Uganda, from everywhere in the world, from Canada. We had a comment as well. Monsieur Arteta probably from England because he is into Steven H. I've been to Steven H, to be honest. So he says it's worth it to take a look at the Steven H market if you are looking for random bets. Probably if you are looking for a normal bet, you can place your bet on Man City to beat Fulham. Why not? In Craven Cottage, Fulham, they lost to Aston Villa, and I remember this very same game in the first part of the season, and Fulham, they put a great fight against Man City. This is a different Man City. We didn't have any doubts that they were going to beat Arsenal comfortably. They did. Praise to Man City, Tom. They have a lot of money, but they play really well. That has to be said as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you are right. Look, they were great against Arsenal. I think they're the best team in the country. I think they'll be champions. I think they'll win the Champions League. And I see them beating Man United in the FA Cup as well. And then we start talking about, is this one of the greatest seasons of all time? And maybe that'll be true. We'll find out in 6 to 7 weeks' time. Look, in terms of Fulham, what an achievement to be on 45 points after 32 games. I think many of us thought they'd be in a relegation battle. They've been nowhere near it all season. Yes, it's fallen away a little bit in recent weeks. 3 defeats in the last 5. The FA Cup was a disappointment for them against Man United in the quarterfinals when I think they felt they could probably win the tournament this year. But to have no Mitrovic and start scoring and win games, great achievement. There may have been some doubt a couple of weeks ago on 39 points about their safety, but the wins over Everton and Leeds have got them over the line. Harry Wilson has been playing really well last couple of weeks. He's come to the fore out of nowhere. So really, really impressive. And I look forward to seeing them again next season. That being said, they're going to lose this because they're playing Manchester City. Look, Man City can be beaten. They can be got at. This has not been, to this point, a vintage season. Yes, the current run, win after win after win, is wildly impressive, but 4 defeats and 4 draws suggest you can get at them. Craven Cottage, tough place to go. If Fulham score 1 or 2 and City have an off day, things could be interesting here. That's not what I'm backing, but I would suggest that there are some games in this run that City may well drop a point or 2 to give Arsenal some hope of a title race. What's going to happen here? Well, look at Man City to win. Man City win without conceding. You've got to go over 2.5 to make any Man City money because they're near off evens every single week to win a game. You look at the Erling Haaland market. He's hit the target 20 times in his last 7 games. If not for Aaron Ramsdale, he would have got that hat-trick at 15-1 against Arsenal. 3 shots on target is 4-1. To score a hat-trick in this game is only around 11-1. So the bookies really fancy Erling Haaland to score 3 goals. Look at the Kevin De Bruyne to assist market, to assist and score for Kevin De Bruyne in his current form will make you some money as well. City win without conceding over 2.5 and couple it up with the Haaland or De Bruyne bet as well.
Let's try to find better odds because I really like the next game, Man United, Aston Villa. Why? Because Aston Villa, they are in great form. They are only 6 points away from Man City. It's true that from Man United, it's true that the Red Devils, they have 2 games in hand, but who knows? I read a stat that with Emery, they've scored in every single game, and this is a record for the Premier League. What a job Emery is doing in the last 10 games, 8 victories, 2 draws for United. Tom, they are specialists right now in throwing away games that they had won. They did it in the Europa League against Sevilla. They did it against Tottenham.
Yeah, look, I thought they were poor against Tottenham. I thought it was the second half was such a ragged nonsense display. I couldn't quite work out who was playing where. Ten Hag made all available substitutions, but the team became a bit of a blob, really. That where was Malacia playing? Where was Martial playing? What was anyone really trying to do in that second half? They allowed Tottenham back into the game with kind of tiredness and confusion. He's obviously a manager, Ten Hag, that picks his starting 11, then runs with it as many times as possible. There are lots of managers that do that. The trouble is he played a grueling FA Cup semi-final a couple of days previously and probably should have made 2, 3, 4 changes from the start. He tried to rectify that as the game went on, and it cost them against Tottenham Hotspur. If Man United win, they do it with Marcus Rashford scoring. His form has been absolutely incredible. Another goal against Tottenham on Thursday night. Defensively, I think there are issues right now in Manchester United. That's obvious. No Martinez, no Varane. Maguire was not in the squad for the game on Thursday. They say knock. I wonder. He was suspended for the FA Cup semi, so that's why he didn't play in that one. Does Maguire come back in for Shaw? And if so, what does that mean for the makeup of the Man United backline? I think he probably doesn't. And that means there are possibilities there for Aston Villa with Ollie Watkins in his terrific form to kind of put this makeshift Man United defence to the test. To your point on Aston Villa, I saw another stat a couple of days ago. From the last 30 points available, they've picked up 26. Ludicrous amount of point gathering from Aston Villa at this moment in time. Only the Brentford game in the last 5, they've dropped any points, home and away. It's win after win after win after win. The tails are up. The confidence is there. And if we're talking about playing with intensity, it's going to be Aston Villa who provide the drive in this game. United look leggy. Villa look determined. It's interesting this. Last couple of weeks, we've had good odds on Manchester United. Now back down to 183, 17, 19. I don't like that. I don't like that for Manchester United. That does not appeal to me at all. So what I suggest here, well, the draw at 4-1 is a beaut. This could be a real good pick for a draw this weekend. Aston Villa, very tough to beat. They do not lose games at this moment in time. I think they'll be in the ascendancy. I would not be shocked to see Villa score the opening goal in this game. Look for Villa to win the first half, Man United to level it up in the second half when they make changes and do that Old Trafford thing they've done for the best part of 30 years. Draw and both teams score, but double it with Villa, throw Watkins in as a goal scorer, and there's money to be made here.
It is a very good game to bet on. Aston Villa double chance and over 1.5 goals for Emmanuel. Good game, this one for the European spots. It would be nice, actually, to see Unai Emery, the king of the Europa League, probably playing Europa League football with Aston Villa. And the music of the Champions League is going to be in St. James's Park next season. Great. Newcastle, they are in a bulldozer style, destroying every single team. 4 against Everton, 6 against Spurs, now 8 points with Spurs, 7 victories in the last 8 games. Everything is very positive. And on Monday or Tuesday, we said that for Southampton was a match point, the game against Bournemouth. Well, they lost it. Game over for Southampton.
Yeah, agreed. Southampton have looked relegated for some time. A couple of bursts against Leicester and against Arsenal aside, they've offered nothing in the last 10. It's 1 point in 5. It's 24 points. It's 6 behind Nottingham Forest. I just don't see them putting a run together. They just aren't good enough, and I think they will be relegated this season. In terms of this game, what an awful game for Southampton to go into, because Newcastle are winning games and winning them, scoring so many goals. 5-1 West Ham. 6-1 against Tottenham Hotspur, 4-1 Thursday against Everton. So what am I going to predict here? Over. Newcastle to win over 2.5 goals in this game is around 2-1. Over 3.5 goals is a little tempter here for Newcastle United. You get that for around 2.8, 2.9. And you just see them scoring goal after goal after goal. Isak looks terrific. Wilson scoring great goals. What else can you say? They're incredibly strong offensively. They are going to qualify for the Champions League next season. And we'll see what happens from there. Southampton going down. No chance here. Not much else to say. Newcastle 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. Big win. Back Newcastle.
And back Liverpool, no, Tom? Next game, Liverpool-Tottenham. How cannot we back Liverpool? They are finally winning games, only 1 point away from Tottenham. So finally, they can overcome the Spurs. Only 2 victories in the last 8 Premier League games for Tottenham. 1.6 for Liverpool to win. Would you Asian handicap this one, for instance?
Oh, I wouldn't, only because I still have my doubts about Liverpool. I know they're on a really good run of form, but I went to the West Ham game midweek and they weren't particularly impressive. They scored a couple of half-decent goals, bad defending for the Matip header, and no one closed down Gakpo from distance. I think West Ham were more than good enough for a point in that game. You look at the result against Nottingham Forest, again, defensively susceptible to long throws and balls getting tossed in the box. Forest could have got something there. Yes, they wallop Leeds, but I don't know. There's something still not quite there about Liverpool. They're at the end of the season, which means they go on their usual charge to get European football. I think they will get European football. I think they will get above Tottenham Hotspur because Tottenham have just disintegrated. But I don't know. I wouldn't Asian handicap it. I'd certainly look at the Trent Alexander-Arnold to do an assist because I think it's 5-5 now for him, even though that his forward pass to Gakpo, who scores from 30 yards, goes down as an assist. But Alexander Isak running down the left wing for Newcastle, beating 4 players, then chipping to, was it Willock who scored, is not an assist. So I don't know. I don't know what an assist is if that's not one. But his assist record is terrific. Alexander-Arnold takes the corners, crosses the ball in, drops into that quarterback role, and looks really, really good in doing it. So look at that market. Look at Liverpool definitely to score in both halves in this particular game. But the thing with Tottenham is that, awful though they've been all season to watch, they are the 5th best team in the country. The table never lies. And they're the 5th best team in the country. It's hard to define that, but they came from 2-0 down to draw with Man United on Thursday night. That's a great recovery from the 6-1 loss a couple of days previous. Yet another manager gone. They've beaten Brighton recently, which is not easy to do. Brighton have only lost 9 games all season. So what do you do here? I think you look at Liverpool win. Of course you do. You look at Mo Salah to score. He's had 3 shots on target in his last few games. So 3 shots on target is around 5-1 for Mo Salah. Salah and Kane to score is 6-1. That's quite nice, I think. Kane to score ahead of his 12-1. If you think Tottenham, you look at the Kane to score and or assist market. Goals at both ends. Liverpool to take it. I think the Reds win both halves, but I fancy Tottenham to score. The most common scoreline is in football is 2-1. Never do a correct score, but you can go off the back of that. Both teams score. Liverpool
win. 1.6. Both teams to score. 1.6. Liverpool to win. So perhaps you want to combine both and you get better odds in a mini ACCA for this game. Then let's go to the drama. Leicester City, Everton. Probably the loser goes to the championship or is very likely to go to the championship. Right now, it looks slightly better. Leicester drawing against Leeds, beating Wolves, because Everton, before we said that they were good defending, at least, Tom, but against Newcastle, oh my God, the second goal, they didn't even pressure the footballer.
Yeah, look, on Leicester, I think that it was a really, really impressive performance in the victory over Wolverhampton Wanderers. A lot of tension, a lot of pressure, and 1-0 away from home to Leeds in the game after that. They never gave it up. They never gave it up. And Jamie Vardy scoring just his 2nd Premier League goal of the season could not have come at a better time for them. With Leicester, they can always score goals. And to have 8 wins in the relegation zone shows you what the issue has been this season. It's capitulating in matches. They can win games and score goals. It's 44 goals scored, best in the bottom half, one of the best in the league, in fact, in terms of the teams that aren't in the top 6. So, you know, they can score goals. They continue to threaten. And I think there's a belief around Leicester City that as long as they get on the front foot and try and score against you, they're likely to win. Everton have tried to outhouse their way to safety, doing corners and the beat tests. And that's fine until it stops working. Then you're losing, and you're losing in a really uninspiring, unimpressive way. It's 1 point in 4. It's 2 points in 5. The loss against Newcastle was pretty awful, but I think the game against Crystal Palace was worse because that was much more of a must-win, and they created almost nothing at Selhurst Park. The loss against Fulham was atrocious at Goodison Park. And there's not much there. There really isn't much there with Everton. They just don't have a strong offence. They don't have a strong midfield. I'd frankly be staggered if they won this game. I don't think Leicester are going to go down. I've kind of felt that for quite some time. I think the goal threat will get you over the line. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be tied, but I don't think they're going to go down. And I back Leicester to win this game. 2-1 is quite nice. I think Leicester are going to win, scoring 2 goals. I wouldn't back Everton to score. I think the rest of this season, I'm not going to touch Everton with a barge pole. There is no money to be made in Everton because you can't feel confident in anything they do. Leicester win without conceding. I'd still go for the under, 2.5. I'd certainly here be looking at this being a scratchy, bitty, awful game. Look at the bookings market. 5 for one team, 4 for another, maybe over 8 yellows in the game. I think that's worth looking at in this one. But go Leicester without conceding. I think Everton are going to go down.
Well, everyone agrees with you. Actually, Tyson, Everton are in big trouble. Leicester to win for me. Viper, Leicester will win. Emmanuel as well. Monsieur Arteta is a big fan of Maddison, like you, like everyone. Maddison, anytime scorer. Victor going for cards in a game with a lot of tension, of course. The loser is very likely to go down. And if you are not touching Everton, who can touch Chelsea right now? It's true that they are going to the Emirates, and perhaps Arsenal, they are doomed. They are depressed after 4 winless games, and especially conceding so many goals, 11 goals conceded in 4 games. Luckily for them, they have a big chance to get a clean sheet because they are facing Chelsea. They are harmless. My grandma is more dangerous than Chelsea.
Yeah, but she's an international assassin, isn't she? So to be fair, that's concerning for all of us. If you see Edu's grandma coming, run as fast as you possibly can.
With a cleaver.
Yes. Look, awful time for Arsenal, right? It has been a bad time for Arsenal. I wouldn't say they've choked it, but I would say that this was the time where, you become champions. You become champions down the home straight. Everything you do to this point is platform. Everything you do in the final 8 to 10 games gets you trophies, and they've not been able to get over the line for whatever reason, be it injury to Saliba, bad fixtures, lack of confidence, whatever it was. They aren't going to win the league from this point, in my opinion, but they are going to win this game because I think there's a moment here where the stress is going to be relieved. And I think it comes from losing against Manchester City. I don't think there's much belief now at Arsenal. They're going to be champions from the crowd or the players. And so we can go back to playing a bit stress-free. I think that they'll dominate the ball. I think that Chelsea will do that stupid thing that Frank Lampard has done every single game and go ultra, super, mega defensive. I mean, they spent £600 million on attackers. In the last game, it was Conor Gallagher and Raheem Sterling as the front two. I mean, he's just awful. He's just an awful, awful manager. He's not very good at this job. It doesn't make any sense what he's done. And I think he's damaged his reputation so badly, Frank Lampard, he'll never get a job again in English football, which he might have done off the back of what he'd done at Everton, poor though it was. He was with a poor set of players. So, yeah, look, Chelsea, the form has been awful. I think if you went across the last 5 games, they'd be bottom or second bottom of the Premier League. More goals scored by their own players in their own net than has been scored at the right end since Graham Potter left the club. Remember him? So I would actually go Asian handicap here. I think Arsenal are going to win this convincingly. I think they're going to love thrashing Chelsea to give everyone the lift that they need after what's been a bad 3 or 4 weeks. Arsenal to win 4-0 is 26-1. Quite like that. Quite like it. Again, don't go for exact scores, but if you look at over 3.5, a drubbing, look at Gabriel Jesus to score, Martinelli to score, Saka to score to make it interesting, pick out a couple of players to have at least 2 shots on target. I think they annihilate them. I just can't see any scenario here for Chelsea. They may surprise us, but my money's going on a big, big Arsenal victory without conceding. They win both halves and then pick that star player to make it slightly more interesting. Martinelli would be my pick.
Well, Monsieur Arteta, here is your answer. He doesn't see Chelsea in the score sheet. So Arsenal to win 2-0. If you go, for instance, for Asian handicap minus 1.5 is 2.95. Good odds. And if Arsenal win by 2 goals margin, you win your bet. In the goals market, there is not a lot of money to be made. It doesn't pay that well, the over 2.5 goals, as Millie is telling us. Well, Tom, tell me, which one is your safe bet? Perhaps Arsenal to beat Chelsea. You seem so sure.
Do you know, no. I'm sure of 3. I'm sure of 3 this weekend, and the top 3 are all going to win. And Arsenal to beat Chelsea, though I'm sure of it. I just like the look of Newcastle. It's third against bottom, and look at Newcastle's wins recently. I think Southampton depressed, Newcastle on a charge. So absolutely, I think Arsenal is a safe bet. Absolutely, I think Man City is a safe bet. But I'm going for Newcastle. Newcastle is a safe bet against bottom of the table Southampton. They are going to win this one.
Were you impressed by Isak run, play, assist?
What a player. What Terrific. A player. I mean, just if he had been fit for longer this season, we might be talking more about a Newcastle push at Arsenal or Man City as opposed to defending their Champions League place. I think he's sensational.
And your Akaton?
Well, I think I've given it away. The top 3 are all going to win. It's been a dodgy one in recent times to pick out 3 victories for you, but the top 3 in terrific form with really good opponents: City, Arsenal, Newcastle, win, 3-1.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Just remember to keep following us. 16,000 subscribers now, Tom. I'm flying. So tell your friends, tell everyone. We will be back next week with more Premier League. Bye-bye, Tom.